Well, hello, Bethany. This is Tami here, and I have the privilege of talking with our pastoral candidate, Steve Musto. I'm thrilled that you're here with us today.
Thanks. Good to be here.
I just have to do this question right off the bat because everyone needs to know. Who do you root for on a Sunday? Who is your NFL team of choice?
Well, okay, so let's not start with that one.
Really?
How about Saturday?
Okay.
Saturdays.
So that's true. Saturday.
We are big Badger fans.
Okay, your wife told me that. That's
yeah.
awesome.
So we lived in Madison. We adopted the Badgers, and we are huge Badger fans.
Okay.
On Saturdays. On Sundays, we root for another team, and it's not important. Necessarily that they're just a little bit south of Green Bay, and have not been very successful.
Like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, maybe? Or
I don't know why this is so important to everybody. Okay. Yes, it is. We are Bears fans.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Andy's father loved the Bears, so it was always interesting on a Packer-Bears Sunday. So,
well, it's a fun rivalry. I always say it's more fun when both teams are doing well.
Yes.
I don't remember the last time both teams were doing well, and that's been the problem.
Well, I have the privilege of just being able to talk with you. I know the kids in our life call this Tam Talk. So welcome to Tam Talk. You get to have some Tam Talk here.
Well, this is great.
Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself? I know the audience would love to know. So.
Yeah. Well, my wife Kathy and I live in Wheaton, Illinois. We are, at this point in our lives, empty nesters, but we have two kids, Hannah and Joshua. Hannah lives in Illinois. Josh lives in Michigan. And they're both out of the house and kind of pursuing their lives and careers. Awesome. So that's great. But we live in Wheaton with our dog Charlie. We have a black lab.
Okay.
My wife was raised with Labrador Retrievers. It's the only dog we've ever had.
All right.
Is Labrador Retrievers. So it's just, it's kind of who we are at this point.
Awesome.
So that's a little bit about us personally. My wife works at a private Christian school in Illinois. I think it's the oldest in the state of Illinois, actually.
Wow.
And so she does great work there. It's a wonderful job and a great mission. As I said previously, we lived in Wisconsin for several years, and this just kind of feels like home to us.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. I know people are going, I've had the privilege, because I have served on the search committee, to get to know you a little bit, and it's just been a huge pleasure. But I know everyone's going to know your salvation story. Like, how did you come to know Jesus? So.
Well, my father traveled for about 30 years with Billy Graham.
Wow.
And that's a whole nother story. But
I know.
When I was 5, there was a Billy Graham crusade in Gonzales, Texas, and our whole family was there.
Okay.
And I, at 5 years old, in this adult crusade, was moved to put my faith and trust in Christ. Now, I know that, my mom and dad have been talking to me about Jesus. I've been going to Sunday school and the whole thing. That was all part of it. But this was the moment. And I came forward. I mean, I left my seat in the stadium and walked down to the front and trusted Christ.
Okay.
I actually still have the business card of the guy who led me to Christ all those years ago. So, so that was my salvation story. Now, I grew up going to church. I grew up going to Christian schools. And I describe it as sort of being in the Christian bubble a little bit.
Absolutely.
When I got to college, my freshman year in college, for the first time I really faced the idea that I had to not just know the right answers. I knew the right answers. I had to believe it and live it. And it took me a couple years to figure out what that was, how to do that. And eventually, God just kept, mercifully reaching out to me again and again and again. And I'd fall down and he'd pick me up and he'd say, I'm not ashamed of you and it's okay and let's keep walking forward. And that was the story. And so when I got to Wheaton College, my junior year, I was really ready to live for him. And Yeah, that's where my wife and I reconnected. We had been,
Yeah, I love your story.
yeah, we had
So-
been high school sweethearts, but before that, we had gone to school together since second grade. And
Okay.
so we'd known each other for a long, long time, dated a couple years in high school. By the way, 2 years dating in high school is like 10 years post high school. I mean, high school years are pretty compacted,
Right.
you know, and so that was a long time. We didn't know too many people who had dated at the age of 15, 16, as long as we had. But we then we broke up, and then we both transferred to Wheaton College
Okay.
together. God brought us together again. Neither one of us knew
Okay.
that was going to happen, and so we came together, and that was it. And from we got married a couple years later, and
Okay.
then kids came, and life began.
Did Kathy grow up in a Christian home too, then, like you did?
She did.
So
yeah.
what a sweet heritage. That's
yeah,
awesome.
and her mom was a teacher at the Christian school, and
Okay.
her dad was an executive in the dairy industry.
Okay.
So whenever you tell, he's 94 years old, and
wow.
still today, when you say, like, we went to Wisconsin, he'll say, well, where was it? And he kind of knows exactly where you're talking about, and because of dairies, he knows all about the dairies. And,
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Okay, that's really cool. Okay, now a question that people are going to want to know.
Yeah.
Are you a book guy or a podcast guy? Both? Which books, which podcasts?
I would love to be a podcast person. I aspire to be a podcast person. My daughter is an unbelievable podcast listener.
Follower. Okay.
And here's what I do. I have downloaded or subscribed to I don't know how many podcasts in the last few years, and listened to almost none of them. I have great
Your phone
aspirations.
is full. Okay.
But I don't listen. Part of it is I need to have like a place or a time when I'm going to listen to that. But when I exercise, I'm listening to music.
Okay.
I just need to find that. I guess a lot of people do it on their commute, but I don't really have a long commute. So, so probably more of a book guy.
Okay.
Here's the hard part of the books, though.
Okay.
I've been doing my doctoral work for the last several years. And when you're doing doctoral work, you're reading, but you're not reading for fun.
Right.
And it takes some of the joy out of the reading, because it's like, I don't really want to read this, but I have to read this. And so you do. And
so when the doctoral work is over, who do you enjoy reading? Who is a favorite author of yours?
I was talking to Pastor David earlier today that I find myself returning to Brennan Manning once in a while, probably fairly often.
Okay.
I enjoy him. I like reading other pastors, the work of other. Sometimes they're known, sometimes they're not. They're just guys who God has done a work in their lives or in their churches or whatever. And I like to read that stuff. When I get away, I like to disconnect. Like when I go on vacation or something, I like to disconnect from leadership, church polity, theology, and do something else entirely. Like, anybody have a spy novel I can read?
There you go. Science fiction or
yeah.
Awesome. So when you and Kathy are just choosing to relax and have fun, what kind of things do you guys like to do?
Yeah. We have, for 29 years of marriage, we have had a standing Monday night football date.
Really?
Yeah.
Just the two of you?
Just two of us. So
Wow.
I married a woman who loves football, and it truly does, not just for my sake. She really loves it. And when we were first married, we didn't have much money.
Okay.
And so we needed a date night. And I took just to make it kind of special, I took our little TV and I moved it out to our back porch and set it on the table and plugged it in and did the rabbit ear aerials to try to get the signal. And then we would sit on the back porch and watch at least the first half of whatever the Monday Night Football game was. Okay. And then it would get colder. We were living in the Chicago area. It would start to get colder. And so we would
bundle up.
Whatever, we put blankets on or something, and it just kind of became our thing. And we said, we're going to do that again next year. And then we just started doing that. So over the years, we have missed just a handful
Okay.
of Monday Night Football games.
So Monday night elder meetings are going to need to change.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about it. It's been
Okay.
a topic of discussion
Okay.
with Kathy already, and yeah, we're
Okay.
talking about it. So
that's a sweet heritage that you guys have. That's
yeah.
awesome.
We like that. We like to walk. We get out
Okay.
and walk quite a bit with our dog in particular.
Okay. We've got some great trails here.
Yeah, I've heard
So,
that. And I'm a bicyclist, so
Okay.
I love to
Awesome.
ride.
We have a son who is just starting a job this week in Madison at Trek. So
Wow.
I know. So I might have some sweet bikes coming my way. We'll see.
If you can get in on a discount,
There you go.
I'm all about it.
Well, there you go. Oh, so I'm looking at my little list because I want Bethany to know about you. Last, I think, question. What excites you about Bethany and about the idea of coming to be with us?
Oh, man. Well, for 3 years, Kathy and I have been praying this prayer. We've been praying for God's plan A.
Okay.
Without getting into a big theological discussion, we believe that God, because he is not limited the way we are, even when we are disobedient or when we choose something that he did not necessarily want for us, he can still make things work out for us because he's gracious and loving and he's God. It's good to be God. And he does that for us. And we said we don't want to do that. We don't want to follow a path that God goes, well, not exactly what I wanted for you, but here we go. We were intent on God's plan A.
Okay.
And we have been praying to that end. And we feel like this is it. This is God's plan A. So the first thing that excites me is he really indicated to us a few years ago, what I have for you next, you're going to love. You're not going to believe it. And I'm so excited for you. And we're both thrilled about that. We are, of course, excited to come again back to Wisconsin. It's a place we know and love. But we see a church with potential. We see a church that gets it, that is really trying to make a difference in the world. We love that. We see a place that has done a lot of hard work already, and what we perceive to be ready for whatever the next step is. So I see all those things, and I start getting excited, almost a little ahead of myself. I have to oh man, we got to shoot videos, and there's a vote and all
There's
this
a
stuff.
process.
I just kind of relax. So
If I'm honest with you, that's how I feel too. I've just seen God's hand in this so much. And I mean, I'll tell you story after story when we have time where it's just like, wow, the Holy Spirit is saying, we get to be yoked as brothers and sisters here at Bethany. So I just want to get on with it and get the vote and start to do whatever God is doing. So thank you for being willing to have some TAM talk with me.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I hope this helps you guys too, just to get to know Steve a little better in his heart. So thank you so much for joining us.